This is the QTV Nightly News, and I am Loli M. Kamara. Thank you for joining us. And you can also join us on Q Radio 103.3 FM. Here are the headlines. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, today appeared as the first witness before the Special Select Committee of the National Assembly probing the sale and disposal of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh. The second edition of the Q Radio Sunu Charity Foundation Conference was held on Saturday at the Supreme Islamic Council headquarters in Kanifing. This year's event, which focused on the impact of Islam organizations. The 2024 National Human Rights Commission report highlights key improvements in the Gambia, particularly the government's stated intention to implement recommendations from the Fruit, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, TRRC. We hear about an initiative by young Gambians to turn plastic waste into useful products as part of efforts to promote environmental sustainability. And in international news, Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of Nigeria, has died at the age of 82. We hear about his special relationship with the Gambia over several years. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, today appeared as the first witness before the Special Select Committee of the National Assembly probing the sale and disposal of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh, as identified by the Jammeh Commission. Aliou Cisse reports.
I, Dauda A. Jallow, do solemnly...
Appearing in a sizable auditorium room of the National Assembly, Attorney General and Justice Minister Dauda A. Jallow became the first high-profile witness to face the special committee tasked with investigating management and disposal of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets. The committee was established following growing concerns and allegations of mismanagement in the post-Jammeh Commission process, particularly in how the assets were handled. Attorney General and Justice Minister Dauda A. Jallow began by outlining the mandate of the Jammeh Commission, which included investigating, making findings, and issuing recommendations to the government. On why the government opted to establish the Jammeh Commission rather than delegate the office of the IGP or Auditor General to conduct this exercise, the witness who was appointed after the commission admitted he couldn't explain the rationale behind the decision. He promised to provide any relevant documentation he could access.
This is about thinking. These are human beings. So other than records, the human thinking that went into the decision making, I cannot testify to that. How was it there? I cannot even express an opinion on it.
Chair, we would move on the account that the AG would provide the committee.
Yes, we will check for all the documents that we can find relating to that period. Any document that, while the thinking was going on, anything that they reduced into writing and is available, we'll provide that. But what thinking went into the decision making, I cannot testify to that.
On the appointment of personnel to the commission, including the chairperson and the lead counsel, the minister said his minister's role also included advising the president on such appointments, particularly where legal competence is required.
If specific qualifications are provided for, those will be taken into consideration. But generally, we look into issues of character and other competencies that make somebody fit and proper to discharge the duties for that position.
On how certain people were selected to serve at the commission, the minister said he was unable to provide specific details. Nonetheless, exhibits were shown to him indicating the ministry requesting from the judiciary the services of court clerks and court transcribers to work with the commission. Upon reviewing the documents, the minister said he saw no irregularity in the arrangement and disagreed with the suggestion that the individuals were receiving 2 salaries. Speaking earlier on at the start of the public hearing, the committee chairperson, Honorable Abdullah Cisse, reminded the witness and those yet to appear to give truthful evidence to the committee.
What the committee is doing is trying to find facts, and these facts are relevant for the public as well. So, as part of our job and the mandate that is being established on this committee is to bring on witnesses to come and testify, just like you did. And we thank you for coming and then, giving us your testimony for this very important job.
While the minister is likely to reappear, as his role seemed to be one of clarifying the composition and remit of the committee, other witnesses are expected to appear before the committee in the coming days, weeks and months. The committee requested the minister to provide the explicit terms of reference, such as that of the lead counsel, Ami Bensouda. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Sise.
The second edition of the Q Radio Sunu Charity Foundation Conference was held on Saturday at the Supreme Islamic Council headquarters in Kanifing. This year's event, which focused on the impact of Islam organizations, attracted hundreds of Q Radio followers from across the country. Ansumana Esonyasi was in attendance and he now reports.
What started as a regular early morning Wolof language radio talk show in October 2019 has since moved into a charitable organization formed by a group of over 700 keen followers of Q Radio. Through the foundation, the group has made a series of interventions, often reaching out to those in need, especially in the aftermath of disasters such as flooding. And as part of the group's efforts to raise awareness of the need for religious education and nurturing ethical values rooted in Islamic teachings, hundreds of its members gathered at the Supreme Islamic Council Hall in Kanifing for the second edition of the Q Radio Sunu Conference on the theme, The Impact of Islamic Organizations in Building a Stronger Society. Guest speakers at the event, Imam Usman Jah, Ustaz Mbai Saho and Aja Yasenabun Jai, highlighted the historical and contemporary contributions of Islamic organizations in areas such as community development, spiritual and moral guidance, charitable work, peace and unity.
What you are doing is highly commendable. This is the same thing the Prophet Muhammad and his disciples used to do. I therefore encourage you to continue to preach peace and stay united. Organizations like your Sunu Charity Foundation should be supported by all because what you are doing is transforming lives. You are offering support to those who need it most without expecting anything in return.
As parents, you must try to build lasting relationships with your children, educate them and train them to become responsible adults and productive members of society. Otherwise, society suffers.
For Suleiman Conte, Q Radio's manager, Ustaz Omar Jah, an executive member of the Sunu Charity Foundation, and Linger Loom, a co-host of the popular Q Radio Sunu morning show, thanked members of the foundation and the Q Radio audience for their continuous support, adding that Q Radio remains dedicated to promoting initiatives that align with Islamic values and strengthen our collective capacity to build resilient and compassionate societies.
I would like to thank you all for coming. You have once again demonstrated your admiration for Q Radio and for societal growth. As a Q Group staff, I am proud to associate with all of you. Today's gathering is a reminder of the power of unity. We have been able to successfully organize this event because we are all united. This gathering is proof that with peace, everything is possible. We must not stop at addressing each other as Muslims. We should endeavor to live by the Islamic values of peace and submission to the one and the only true God.
Following the speeches, there was an interactive session during which attendees asked questions and shared ways to strengthen collaboration among similar organizations. On behalf of the Q Group, Omar Let of the Q Group Foundation and Alu Jalo, the head of Q Group's camera department, on behalf of QTV's general manager, thanked the group for choosing Q Radio and for their support over the years, and went on to express hope that the event will inspire a unified vision for societal growth. Ansman Esonyasi for QTV News.
The 2024 National Human Rights Commission report highlights key improvements, particularly the government's stated intention to implement recommendations from the Fruit, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission (TRRC). These include plans to establish a reparations commission and draft legislation to prosecute past human rights violations.
Dr. Badaralum, having been appointed as chairperson of the Office of the
2024 NHRC report highlights key improvements, particularly the government's efforts to implement recommendations from the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission (TRRC). These include plans to establish a reparations commission and a draft legislation to prosecute past human rights violations. While monitoring these positive steps, the report outlines several pressing human rights concerns. These include allegations of torture by security forces, a controversial move to repeal the law banning female genital mutilation (FGM), migrant smuggling, and the alleged fatal shooting of a civilian by soldiers in August 2024. The rise in violent crimes, including stabbings and unresolved murders, was also noted. Although there have been no unknown state-linked enforced disappearances since 2017, the NHRC stresses that the government must take stronger action to prevent violence and safeguard lives, whether threats come from state or non-state actors. The report also reveals that the judiciary has introduced improvements such as automated court system and a special court to handle gender-based violence cases. However, public confidence in the justice system remains low. According to a 2024 Afrobarometer survey, many Gambians still struggle to access justice due to cost and a lack of trust. The report also raises alarm over the state of mental health care. The outdated colonial-era Lunatics Detention Act of 1917 remains in force, and the country has only one under-resourced inpatient facility at Tanka Tanka, leaving rural communities particularly vulnerable. Progress has been made in advancing disability rights through legislation and strategy, yet implementation gaps and poor accessibility, especially in education, continue to limit full inclusion. The NHRC calls for urgent legal reforms, increased funding, and inclusive policies to ensure that human rights protections are effective and accessible for all Gambians. Osman Jata, reporting for QTV News.
We'll now go for a commercial break. When we return, we will hear about a project which is turning plastic waste into useful products. And in international news, we hear about the death of former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. Do stay tuned and join us after the break.
Hi there, my name is Nuruddin Adams, a proud product of this noble institution. Heritage Christian University is not just a learning place, but a community that transforms lives and empowers its students to become compassionate entrepreneurial leaders. My journey here has truly been life-changing, and I invite you to come experience the same. Whether your passion is into business, nursing, midwifery, psychology, communication studies, multimedia technology, information technology, or theology and ministry, Heritage has tailored these programs for both the undergraduate and graduate studies to suit your goal. If you're ever ready to take your education to the next level, then pick up an application form and join us today. At Heritage, you are never alone. As members of the community, we'll stand and work with you every step of the way. Welcome to Heritage Christian University.
We are more than banking. We build bridges that connect you to pivotal services every day. Do you have government bills to pay to the Gambia Revenue Authority, Comfort, KMC, or the Accountant General's Department? We've got you covered. From payment of customs and domestic taxes to GRA, payment of number plate and vehicle ownership transfer to Comfort, payment of property rates and business license fee to KMC, and payment of MR passport, business registration, fishing license, land fees, sale of assets, lease application, development permits, quarrying royalties, gravel and sand, mining royalties, and a host of other revenue lines to the Accountant General's Department. Walk into any of our branches nationwide and make your payments hassle-free. Either in person or online, simple, secure, and immediate. With Ajib Bank, there is no need to worry about government bill payments for your vehicles, taxes, licenses, business registration, and any other revenue line. Ajib Bank, passionate about your investment. We've got you covered. Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
Welcome back. Amid growing concerns over waste management in the Gambia, Precious Plastic Gambia is leading the way with innovative recycling solutions that transform plastic waste into functional marketable products while promoting environmental sustainability and empowering communities. Our Bob has more.
Waste management is a major challenge in the Gambia, with plastic waste, especially discarded single-use bags, accumulating in communities, waterways, and public spaces, posing serious environmental hazards and threatening both human and marine life. Precious Plastic Gambia, a grassroots movement rooted in creativity and sustainability, is pioneering new approaches to plastic waste management by transforming what many see as a trash into valuable, practical products like towels, furniture, and household items. Babakar E. Kamara, co-founder and operations manager of Precious Plastic Gambia, shared insights into how the team developed innovative approach to tackling plastic waste.
We see a lot of plastic waste littered everywhere, and most of the time in the Gambia we either burn them, we throw them, or we bury them, and all of these things do have a problem to us as humans, especially the women and young people. Faces a lot of problems when these things actually, when they occur actually, basically. So we realize that there is something that needs to be done with this. We cannot just leave our country, littered with plastic waste everywhere. So we have to take an action.
Precious Plastic Gambia is raising awareness, creating jobs, and inspiring a new generation of eco-conscious entrepreneurs. By blending environmental advocacy with practical solutions, the group is changing public attitudes toward waste, demonstrating that plastic can be given a second life and real value when managed responsibly. Mr. Kamara said the sense of fulfillment and pride they experience when transforming plastic waste into reusable, practical products.
We try to recycle this waste plastic. So we collect them from the environment, we wash them, grind them, and turn them into products. It's a business that gives us a lot of joy, seeing that the waste that people throw, burn, or buried are converted into something. So you see the products in your hand, and then the joy actually starts from there when you turn into products.
The efforts of Precious Plastic Gambia extend beyond tackling plastic pollution, aligning closely with the Gambia's broader goals for a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future. The co-founder urged young people to embrace eco-friendly practices and actively participate in pollution reduction.
We don't only make the chair, we make chairs, we make benches, two-size bench. We have a 1 meter bench, we have 1 meter 40 bench, and also we make sunbed. We also make table, we make dustbin. The country is ours because at every stage, the youthful stage is always the most productive stage. So we are the most productive category. So we have to come up and make sure that we defend our nation in any positive aspect. The young people also learn. They will be inspired by our actions.
Precious Plastic Gambia's recycling initiative is part of a global movement focused on combating plastic pollution through local recycling and community empowerment. In a country where waste management continues to be a growing challenge, Precious Plastic Gambia stands out as a homegrown solution that combines creativity with climate action, showing that meaningful change can start with a single plastic bottle. For QTV News, I am our Bob.
In international news. Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari, who led the country from 2015 to 2023, died in London on Sunday. As well as the role he played in his own country, Gambians have reason to remember him. I, worked on the story, and here's my report. Muhammadu Buhari was born on the 17th of December 1942 in Daura, Katsina State, northern Nigeria. He first seized power in a military coup on December 31st, 1983, ruling as head of state until August 1985. He was yet another of Nigeria's many military rulers turned Democrats. On leaving the army, he served as Nigeria's president from 2015 to 2023 and was the first Nigerian presidential opposition candidate to oust an incumbent through the ballot box in Nigeria. Throughout his life in public service, he was known for his firm stand on discipline, accountability, and the rule of law. But beyond Nigeria, Buhari carved a reputation as a principled statesman, committed to regional peace and African unity. For Gambians, his name holds a special place in our recent history. In 1984, while he was a military ruler, he visited the Gambia, and then President Sadauda Jawara conferred on him its highest honor, that of the Order of the Grand Commander of the National Order of the Gambia. He was to visit the Gambia another 3 times during the 1990s. In late 2016 and early 2017, as the Gambia faced a constitutional crisis following former President Yahya Jammeh's refusal to concede defeat, President Buhari, alongside other West African leaders, including Sierra Leone's former president Ernest Bai Koroma and Liberia's former president Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, worked tirelessly to ensure a peaceful resolution. His leadership and calm diplomacy helped pave the way for a smooth transition of power, averting what could have been a devastating conflict in the Gambia. In January 2022, Muhammadu Buhari was among the dignitaries who attended the inauguration of President Adama Barrow for a second term. His presence was a testament to his continued belief in democratic consolidation and regional solidarity. On the global stage, Buhari stood as a voice for Africa, championing causes like anti-corruption, economic cooperation, and the fight against terrorism. He represented not just Nigeria, but an Africa seeking stability and progress. During his time as president of Nigeria, he received and was received by a who's who of world leaders. Major global and regional leaders, including Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, President Adama Barrow of the Gambia, have all extended formal condolences, reflecting Buhari's stature in regional diplomacy and governance. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu declared 7 days of mourning, with the national flag to be flown at half-mast on all public buildings for 7 days from the 13th of July. Tonight, the Gambia joins Nigeria and the rest of the continent in mourning a leader who at crucial moments stood firm for peace and democracy. May Allah have mercy on his soul. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara. Also in international news, from July 14 to 16, 2025 in Nairobi, Kenya, the African Women's Development and Communication Network, FEMNET, is hosting a groundbreaking regional dialogue. The focus is on empowering women leaders across Africa's legal and justice sectors. Zainabu Chow reports from Nairobi.
As more women across Africa push for leadership in the legal and justice professions, challenges remain both institutional and personal. Under the theme, Women Shaping Justice Across Generations in Africa, FEMNET has brought together legal professionals, activists, and policymakers from across the continent. The goal is to share life experiences and strengthen collective action in addressing issues of justice, governance, politics, and socio-economic realities. Memri Kachambwa, Executive Director of FEMNET, says the gathering is about amplifying women's voices and building a lasting network.
One of our work is to amplify the voices of African women, and in particular, voices of African women in leadership and law. And what really inspired us was to bring together the women who are working in law and how they can intersect, and also discuss and have a dialogue and come up with solutions on also overcoming some of the barriers that they find within the legal fraternity.
This dialogue allows women in law to strategize, reflect, and connect across generations. It is about power, purpose, and persistence. FEMNET's approach fosters collaborations, innovation, and solidarity. It is a space not just for learning, but for leadership. Sally Chiwama, a journalist and communications expert, shares why she is here and highlights some of the unique challenges women face as barriers to leadership.
So for me, I always insist that organizations need to partner with media organizations and invest in the journalists. How do you invest in me, or how do you give me the information so that I understand? It's from the concept, isn't it? When an organization embarks on a project, why don't they invest or take on a journalist that has interest, of course? Like me, I always give an example of myself. Some organizations invested in me and did training. They trained me on how to do these things. Okay, so then when I'm writing and things like that, nobody's going to say she doesn't know what she's talking about because they invested in me. So organizations need to invest and bring a journalist on board so that when they are reporting, they are reporting from a knowledgeable point of view.
The dialogue doesn't end here. In fact, it is the beginning of a powerful Pan-African network of women in law working together to shape a just, inclusive future. Seinabu Chow reporting from Nairobi, Kenya.
That's all for this news bulletin. Join us tonight at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Until then, thanks for watching.